Okay, we're about to pull back the curtain on probably the single most important concept in all of physiology. Seriously, it's this silent, tireless guardian that's keeping you alive every single second of the day.
And I want you to really think about that for a second. How is it that you can walk out into a freezing cold day, or drink a super sugary soda, or even pull an all-nighter for an exam? And yet, your internal body temperature stays locked in, your blood sugar stays in this tiny little range, and your blood pressure remains stable.
I mean, the world is constantly throwing everything it has at you, like extreme temperatures.
You've got daily stressors constantly pushing you off balance. And literally every single thing you eat or drink is another variable your body has to manage perfectly. It seems kind of impossible, right? This constant silent attack should be totally overwhelming. But your body has this brilliant defense system. And the secret, the key that will unlock all of physiology for you, is one powerful concept: homeostasis. And in the next few minutes, we're going to make this crystal clear. Think of this as your personal homeostasis cheat sheet. We're going to cover what it really is, how your body maintains that perfect balance, the two critical types of feedback it uses, and finally, the two master systems that are running the whole show. All right, first up, what is homeostasis really? Well, at its core, it's all about your body's obsession with keeping its internal world absolutely perfect, no matter what's going on outside. Now, the classic textbook definition is the maintenance of nearly constant conditions in the internal environment, and that word nearly is super important. This isn't about being static or frozen in place. It's more like a dynamic balancing act, a constant series of tiny little adjustments to keep everything within a very narrow, life-sustaining range. But to get this, we have to know what this internal environment actually is. And the whole idea comes from this 19th century physiologist, Claude Bernard. He called it the milieu intérieur, which is just a fancy way of saying the internal sea that all of our cells live and float around in. So check this out. Your body's water is basically split into two big compartments. About 2/3 of it is inside your cells. We call that the intracellular fluid, or ICF. The other 1/3 is outside your cells. That's the extracellular fluid, or ECF. And this ECF, the fluid that's bathing all your cells, is the internal environment. It's the private little ocean that homeostasis is obsessed with protecting. And protecting it is absolutely critical because the fluid inside your cells is chemically way different from the fluid outside. Just look at this breakdown. The ICF is packed with potassium and magnesium, but the ECF, that internal environment, is loaded with sodium and chloride, kind of like salt water. Keeping this exact chemical difference is what powers literally every nerve impulse and muscle contraction in your body. It's a huge point you're going to see on your exams over and over again. Okay, so how does the body actually do all this? Well, its number one tool, its primary weapon, is a brilliant mechanism called the negative feedback loop. The entire purpose of negative feedback is incredibly simple. Whatever the change is, it does the exact opposite. If a variable, like your body temperature, gets too high, the system works like crazy to bring it down. If it gets too low, the system works to bring it back up. It always opposes the stimulus to get the body back to its happy place, its normal set point. And every single negative feedback loop has the same three core components. First, you've got a sensor, or a receptor, which is like a little lookout that detects something has gone wrong. Second, that sensor sends a signal to a control center, which is usually in your brain. It analyzes the info and decides what to do. And third, the control center activates an effector. That's the muscle or gland that actually carries out the response and it fixes the problem. The absolute perfect analogy for this is the thermostat in your house. The thermometer is the sensor. It detects the room is too hot. It sends that info to the thermostat itself, which is the control center. It compares the current temp to your setting, and then the control center activates the effector, the air conditioner, which kicks on, cools the room, and opposes that initial change. Your body does this exact same thing for temperature, blood pressure, oxygen, you name it. So negative feedback is the hero of the story, right? It's the workhorse keeping everything stable. But there's a fascinating plot twist, a rare but super important exception called positive feedback. So, unlike negative feedback, which opposes change, positive feedback amplifies it. It takes a small initial signal and makes it bigger and bigger and bigger, pushing the body further away from its normal state. Now, you're probably thinking, that sounds dangerous. And yeah, most of the time it would be. So let's put them head to head. Here's the key difference you gotta know. Negative feedback opposes change to keep things stable. Positive feedback amplifies change, creating this big, explosive process that's designed to happen really, really fast. So when on earth would your body want that? Well, there are 3 classic examples you need to know. During childbirth, the pressure of the baby's head on the cervix causes a release of the hormone oxytocin. That oxytocin causes stronger contractions, which causes more pressure, which causes more oxytocin, and it just amplifies and amplifies until the baby is born. Same deal with blood clotting and the firing of a nerve cell. These are all processes that need to hit a rapid, all-or-nothing conclusion. So we've got these powerful feedback systems, negative and positive. But who's actually in charge? Who's running the show? Well, that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, the 2 master systems in command, the nervous system and the endocrine system.
The best way to think of these two is like a perfect team. The nervous system is your rapid response SWAT team. It uses lightning-fast electrical impulses for short-term control, like yanking your hand off a hot stove. The endocrine system, on the other hand, is the strategic, long-term planner. It uses chemical hormones released into the blood for slower, more sustained control over things like growth and metabolism. Together, they coordinate everything.
Okay, lean in for this one. Here is your critical exam memory trick. To remember the 3 parts of any feedback loop in order, just think SCE. Sensor, control center, effector. SCE. Got it? It's that simple. All right, let's do a super fast 20-second recap of everything. You ready? 1. Homeostasis is all about keeping that internal environment, the ECF, stable. 2. Negative feedback is the body's main tool. It always opposes the initial change. 3. Positive feedback is the rare exception. It amplifies a change for a quick, explosive outcome. And 4. The fast nervous system and the slower endocrine system are the master controllers of it all. And that's really it. That's the core of homeostasis. If you can get this one concept, you've got the foundation for understanding how every other system in the body works. And, more importantly, what goes wrong when people get sick. If this helped you finally get it, take 1 second to subscribe.